This government has moved the health budget from $60 billion in 2016 to $140 billion in 2023. You would ask the Jamaican people, what have we gotten so far for this increase in budget? This government has moved the health budget from $60 billion in 2016 to $140 billion in 2023. You would ask the Jamaican people, what have we gotten so far for this increase in budget?
Good morning, family. How you guys doing? You guys all right? Oh, good afternoon. Sorry. Hey. Now, just go ahead and take on a popcorn and go put it in the microwave or however on a pop on a popcorn. And, go fix your drink, go grab your beer, something out of the fridge, go and go pee-pee, go use the bathroom. What I'm about to play for you right now, some of you guys probably hear about it before. Some of you guys probably never hear about it. We come to play this brother up on the screen. His name is Tom Wise. He's an activist. He specializes in Black history. Me understand he's not Black. But the brother spit some fire where I believe Black folks, we need to hear for ourselves. Do you hear me say? So get ready. Get ready to to hear some things wagwan with our people today. But let me go to a short break, and I'll be right back with a clip after this.
What is the difference between the ordinary thief and a political thief? Number one, the ordinary thief steals your money, your bag, your watch, and your jewelry, isn't it? But the political thief steals your future, your career, your education, your health, and your business. Number two, the hilarious part is that the ordinary thief will choose whom to rob. But you are the one who choose the political thief to rob you. Because we choose them. We vote them. We blindly say we are not blind. Who is deceiving who? The ridiculous part of the whole issue is that we will fight to defend and protect our belongings from the ordinary thief. Is it not? But we fight each other to defend and protect the political thief. Is that not what we do? Thugs will be fighting themselves to protect those that are stealing our career, stealing our job, stealing our health, stealing our success. What a shame. What a travesty. Calls for us to think and think deep.
Are you guys ready? This brother right here is on the screen named Team Wise. We're going to go there to the people, share this type of video. This video is not the passa, oh Lord God, my belly kind of video. This video will only attract the wise and the conscious set of people them. The people who are look out of them third eye. The people who are think a different way as black people. This video will reach out to you and yeah, in a different way. And you'll feel it differently from some other people who just, hey, whatever. You understand? Because we have lost consciousness as black people. So I guess when a white man come and tell me about our history, we will listen some more. However, Tom Wise, guys want to check him out. Tom Wise. Some of the people are hearing about him for the first time. This white man named what? Tom Wise. W-I-S-E. And him a bonfire. And him going to talk to us about the origin of the ghetto today and some stuff about black folks where some black folks don't know about themselves. This brother right here, so this white man is no joke. Oftentimes, we come on my black platform and tell you that there are white people out there who blacker than you and I. I make that in a comment on one of my page one day. I make a video and I say that I want lady Bex in the comment section. Bex, who dare you to say that, Carlos? That white man can. I say, lady, I never really respond to our reply to our comment because I'm telling you, there are white people who blacker than me enough at Uno. You know, see, black people I take with them melanin from themselves. Yeah, some black people are trying to be white. There's some black people know themselves again. And what don't know people? You have some white man who will push you out of the way and take a bullet for you. No, not in the movie. Literally. So we are getting down into this thing. Get to the popcorn. We're going to listen. All right, here we go.
Tribes and communities, nations, right? If you ever meet someone who's actually a rugged individual and hasn't been raised in a social context, you need to get the hell away from that person. They would be like a feral animal, right? They would be wild. It'd be like being raised on an island by a porpoise. They wouldn't even know how to have language. They'd probably try to eat you because they wouldn't understand there's like a taboo against that, right? You need to get the hell away from anybody who's actually a rugged individual because there are no such thing. And certainly, let me just say this, if you inherited $200 million from your daddy's real estate empire, you sure as hell are not a self-made anything or a rugged individual. You might want to write that shit down.
Can you guys hear Tom Wise? Are you guys hearing? Can you guys hear him loud and clear? If not, I'll figure another way for you guys to hear. Can you guys hear Tom Wise? Let me know in the comment section.
So there is no rugged individual anything. We're all social beings. Some have had opportunity, others have not. Unless we're honest about that, unless we're willing to have a conversation, we end up misleading.
This is the most powerful prayer to attract money.
Leading ourselves, and we can't understand what we're seeing. And then if we can't understand it, we're not going to fix it, right? We're not going to fix the disparity in housing if we don't understand where it came from. So if the data says, and it does, that white folks on average have 15 times the net worth of black folks, 13 times the net worth of Latino folk, right? We just assume, well, we must have worked harder. Is that right? That's interesting because actually the black folks and brown folks have done some of the hardest work in this country ever since the country was founded. Were it not for the labor of African descended peoples, there would be no country at all. In fact, it was my family, white slave owning family in the South that got black folks to do all the hard work because we were lazy asses and didn't want to work at all. White folks in the South on the plantation used to want to sit on the porch and drink mint juleps and have carriage rides rather than work, while black folks did all the real labor. And yet we decided that black folks are lazy, which I find fascinating. Right. And then people write to me and say, well, these black people, they're just taking all the jobs. OK, which is it, Precious? Because it can't be both. People of color can't take all the jobs and be lazy. I don't ask much of racists because I expect very little, but you cannot be lazy and take all the jobs. Are we at least clear on that? Like if you took all the jobs, you were like the opposite of lazy. If you are indeed lazy, you probably did not even take one job, let alone all of them. So I just need racists to get their damn story straight. That's all I ask. I just don't like moving targets. That's all, right? But if I don't tell my daughter the truth, she defaults to the position of the culture, and then she can't understand what the problem is. The same is true with policing. You can't understand the Black Lives Matter movement and the importance of it if you don't know the history and the relationship between law enforcement and black and brown peoples. If you understood that history, you wouldn't ask one question about why this movement is necessary and why it's righteous. If you knew that history, but you don't know it, and it's not your fault. You weren't supposed to know it, and nobody taught it to you, right? So you don't have to know that modern policing traces back to slave patrols. That black folks' first experience with law enforcement was having, you know who? Working class and poor white folks on horseback going around keeping black folks in line on behalf of the rich master that owned all the property. That sounds a lot like modern policing because ain't no rich people policing, right? It's working class folks who are out there protecting the property of rich people against the depredations of poor people. That's what modern policing is, and it traces back. And we know that's what modern policing is, by the way, because we will lock you up for 10 years for $100 worth of food stamp fraud. But if you take $12.5 trillion on Wall Street, 20% of the net worth of this country, you will not do 1 day in jail. So we know that law enforcement has got nothing to do with enforcing the law. It's got nothing to do with good people and bad people, lawbreakers and the law abiding. It only has to do with controlling certain people. And black and brown folks know who those certain people usually are because it's always been them. See, black folks know that it was cops who were involved in race riots and racial terrorism against black communities for the first 50 years of the 20th century. You didn't learn about that in class either, and that's not your fault. It wasn't taught. But in fact, every single year, just about from 1900 all the way to the 1930s, 1940s at least, there were race riots where white folks would just go into black communities, burn them to the ground, bomb them from the air, like in Tulsa, Oklahoma, rip people out of their homes, beat them in the street, and police sat. I watched it happen and participated. That doesn't mean that every cop in the modern era is like that, but it means that black folks can be excused for being not so clear on the decency of police in their communities because there's a history there. It was police who dragged black folks and white allies off of those sit-in stools at lunch counters in the South to enforce segregation. See, when your job is to enforce the law, and for most of American history, the law was against you as a people, then enforcing the law means you are the first line of oppression. People of color know that history and need to be excused when they don't just get over it because that.
People, give the live here a thumbs up, share the live here. You see, them type of video is not the most popular video, though full of knowledge, full of education, very insightful. If you notice, this is not the most popular video. You'll find probably a dozen people are watching the video right now. Give it a thumbs up. This video is not for everybody. Remember, I'm telling you that from the beginning. Black people are conscious like that no more if you sit around and listen this. So give it the few were there, so give it a thumbs up at least.
Continues. How do we know it continues? Very easy. We know from the data on racial profiling that black folks are twice as likely as white folks to be stopped and searched for drugs, even though white folks are more likely to have drugs on us on the occasions that we're searched. White folks use drugs and sell drugs at the same or higher rate than black folks and Latinos. And yet it is black folks and Latinos who in any given year make up 85 to 90% of the people who get arrested and incarcerated for a drug offense. See, people of color know that. And if we don't understand when black folks rise up. and say Black Lives Matter. Well, what do you mean? All lives matter. Yes, sweetheart, I know they do. Yes, they do. And that is a totally irrelevant and unnecessary point to make. You see, you don't have to say all lives matter. We take that for granted. What we've never accepted in this country is that Black and brown life matter. You have to proclaim that which is ignored, you see. That's why we have Black History Month right now and not White History Month. We don't have to have the White History Month because we got May and June and July and August and every other month where we learn about white folks. We don't have to call it that. See how slick that is? That's how white supremacy operates. You don't have to call it White History Month. You just call it history, literature, and theater, and poetry, and art. You don't have to racialize where it came from, right? That's what Malefi Asante at Temple calls universalizing the particular, which is the hallmark of Eurocentric thought, right? Not everybody's experience is the same. And so when certain people have been left out of all, you have to call that out by name. Because see, we've always said all, and we didn't mean it. We said all men are created equal, and we didn't mean that shit, right? We didn't mean women, but we didn't even mean all men. We said all, and it was a lie when we said it, right? And so in a sense, when you say Black Lives Matter, to respond with all lives matter would be like going in a time machine back to 1971. Y'all won't remember this. Those who were students, those who were older will. Around 1970, 71, 72, the big phrase was Black is beautiful, right? There was this desire to take back the beauty narrative from a beauty industry, fashion industry, glamour industry that had hijacked it and denigrated Black physicality and beauty, right? So folks were saying Black is beautiful to reclaim a sense of beauty for themselves. It'd be like getting in a time machine, going back to 1971, hearing somebody say Black is beautiful and tapping them on the shoulder and going, but we're all beautiful in our own way. Yeah, shut up. We know. Not the point. It'd be like going back to the early 80s when the HIV/AIDS crisis started. And it took several years for the president of the United States to even utter the word. Ronald Reagan didn't want to even utter the word, let alone cut loose with funding to deal with the problem until his buddy Rock Hudson died of it. And then all of a sudden he was willing to talk about it a little bit, right? So for the first several years, what'd you have? You had activists out in the street. You had ACT UP, Gay Men's Health Crisis, out in the street demanding research and funding for HIV/AIDS, right? And what they were saying in effect was people with AIDS lives matter. That wasn't the actual phrase, and we didn't have hashtags, but that was essentially what they were saying, right? People with AIDS lives matter, and we need to pay attention because right now we're not paying attention to that. And we don't seem to believe it as a society, so we need to start believing it. It would be like getting in a time machine, going back to 1983, 82, in the middle of an ACT UP event or a Gay Men's Health Crisis event and shutting down the protest by saying, yeah, but what about pancreatic cancer? People die of all kinds of things, right? Sort of not the point. You have to proclaim that which is ignored. And if we know the history, we understand that, right? Because if we know the history, we know that it is indeed Black life. And I would suggest brown life, life of color generally, indigenous life, that is usually denigrated, demeaned, ignored. On a sexual level, it's trans lives that are demeaned, ignored, right? It's women as women. So sometimes you got to proclaim that which is not in the obvious frame of reference. There's nothing pernicious about it. It's not about saying Black lives are worth more than other lives. It's about, damn it, these lives actually do matter. And even though the history says they don't, we're here to tell you that they do. And there's nothing wrong about that at all. But if you don't know the history, it might seem untoward. And I get it. And again, it's not your fault that you don't know the history, but it is our responsibility to learn it and then apply it to what we see. Same is true with immigration. This immigration drama that we have right now is only possible because we don't understand our own history. As a country, and particularly those of us of European descent, we have lied to ourselves about how we got here. And for what reason? See, Black folks know why they're here. Native peoples know why they're here and how they got here. A lot of Asian folk know, particularly if they're Chinese American, they know they got here because their ancestors were brought over to work on the railroads by the railroad barons who didn't care if thousands of them died laying track 1920
Like up the live.
But for those of us who are from Europe, we have this fiction that we've told and we believe it, even though there's no truth to it. You know what the fiction is? It's two parts. Number one, we say things like, with regard to Mexicans coming over the border, with regard to immigrants coming up, but only that border. That's the only one we care about, right? The southern border. I find that interesting. We're not flipping out about Canada, right? We don't have any of the Minutemen or the anti-immigrant groups sitting off the coast of Nova Scotia with a gun and a scope trying to like pick off the sneaky Canadians that are trying to sneak in here for our superior healthcare system. which after all would be a pretty stupid thing to do. But in any event, we only care about that one border, forgetting for a minute that that border was created at the end of a war that was started on false pretense by this country, after which we jacked half of their country. And you weren't taught that in school either, because our history books aren't interested in telling the truth. They tell this very patriotic history that has no relationship to the fact. So that border is artificial. Mexican folk who are coming here, documented or not, let's be clear, are coming home. Their families were here before our families were here in almost every instance. But we forget that, and then we say things like, well, I don't mind them coming. I just want them to come legally like my people did. No. The hell does that even mean? Come legally? There was no law to break when our people came. The fact that we didn't break a law that didn't even exist, you don't get cookies for that. You don't get like a pat on the back and a gold star because your great, great, great whatever was law abiding when there was no law that he could have violated, even if he wanted to. But we've told this lie that we came for these upstanding principles. So we'll say things like, well, you know, our people came for liberty and freedom, democracy.
Guys, share them argument here, you know? Most black people will pass this kind of conversation. I repeat. It's just like writing. They're not going to read it. Most black people will pass these kind of information. I mean, I tell you right now, because it don't cost me a cuss out nobody and nobody business that's over here. You see it? So most black people, that's how we program these days. We will pass these kind of information. That's why I said at the beginning, this video is not for everybody. Let's continue to listen to Mr. Tom Wise.
These people are just coming for stuff. They're just coming for jobs. They're just coming for healthcare. They're just coming for stuff. We came for high-minded principle, right? Because we believe that. What kind of third-grade version of American history is that, right? Like when Donald Trump says, well, Mexico's not sending their best. What the hell? You think Europe sent their best? Europe? No, our people were the losers of Europe. I'm not trying to be an asshole. I'm just telling you the truth. Like, our people were the losers of Europe. The winners didn't get on the boat. You understand what I'm saying? The winners didn't leave. Why the hell would you leave if you were winning? Only the losers left because they had no choice. They were dying. They were starving. They couldn't support their families. A lot of them were convicts who were sold into indentured servitude to work for rich European people. They were barely above the level of a slave themselves. The idea that we had these we didn't believe in liberty and freedom. And we know that because once we got to the colonies, we set up the opposite of liberty and freedom. And I don't just mean that for like black folks and native folks. I mean, even for other white folks. Like, we spent most of the time in the early colonies trying to figure out who the witch was.
Damn.
Right? It was like, well, you're not a Christian. Well, no, you're not a Christian. Well, no, you're not.
Before Married America, Amy was struggling financially.
Figure out who the witch was, right? It was like, well, you're not a Christian. Well, no, you're not a Christian. Well, no, you're not a Christian. I'm going to hang you from a tree. Really? Well, I'm going to drown you in the stream. Well, I'm going to set you on fire. Like, that wasn't liberty. The colonies were some of the least free places in the history of the cosmos. But we act like we came for liberty, and they're just here to take advantage. Let's be clear. Our people didn't come for liberty. They came for stuff. They came for stuff like land. They came for stuff like opportunity. They came for stuff like the ability to feed their families. And there's no shame in that. None at all. But just like there's no shame in our families having done that, there's no shame in brown families doing that and coming over that border from Mexico, Central America, wherever else they might be coming. There's no shame in any event, but we've told a lie. It's like we have this image in our head that sometime in like 1650, this was a common scene in England. All the nice white noblemen got together, and one of them gathered his children around the fireplace in the middle of the 1600s and said, well, now, children, I think you'll agree with me that we're doing quite brilliant here, and we have this big mansion, and we have all this gold, and you remember last week when the king invited us to the palace, and you played out in the garden with his children. I know, it was brilliant, right? It was great. It was great. It was great. I bet it was lots of fun, but Daddy thinks that we need to stop all that nonsense and maybe strike out on an adventure. So here's my plan. Even though we're doing so well, even though we pretty much run the show here in England, I think that what we should do this summer, follow me, stick with me, I know it's going to be a stretch, but I promise it's going to be great, is we should get on a big boat, a rickety old ship. I don't even know if it's seaworthy, children. It might sink. We might be eaten by sharks. We might get hijacked by pirates. We might get scurvy and die a horrible death. However, I think you will agree it will be an adventure, a great one indeed. That did not happen. Noblemen didn't leave. Those who were doing well did not leave. Only the losers got on the boat. People say things like, well, my family came over on the Mayflower. Okay.
Damn, people. We're learning, aren't we? We are learning. This brother named Tom Wise is something else. As a white man, he's something else. He got the history. And as you know, how it's set up right now, certain books are being removed. They don't want certain history to speak. As we speak, we don't say YouTube not really like these type of video. But are the truth. And this is not a violation of the community standards. So I'm asking anybody there, so give it a thumbs up, share it if you think somebody will hear it. Because most black people will not take 15 minutes and listen to a video like this. Trust me.
Sweetheart, you might not want to talk about that. If you actually knew who was on those early ships, I'm not sure who was, but I know who wasn't. The king. The king was not on that ship. Nobody the king really wanted to keep around was on that ship. No. Right? So our inability to see this, though, understand the importance historically. If we don't understand that we came for the same reasons that folks...
Come to think about it. Them are not off. Think about them people come from Europe or America. Them hungry, poor, busted, disgusted, just like any immigrants. I look a banana boat for jump on to come to America. I come at any one of these countries, England, Canada, for a better life. If you think about what he's saying, you know, when the European hit America, you know, them looking for things. But Jano, the white man, he put it a different way from how any black man would have really explained it. Remember, he is white. Tom Wise. I know him doing this type of work, him come on a lot of fight just to highlight and shine some light in these areas and educate the community. Let's continue to listen, Mr. Wise.
Strike out on an adventure. So here's my plan. Even though we're doing so well, even though we pretty much run the show here in England, I think that what we should do this summer, follow me, stick with me, I know it's going to be a stretch, but I promise it's going to be great, is we should get on a big boat. A rickety old ship. I don't even know if it's seaworthy, children. It might sink. We might be eaten by sharks. We might get hijacked by pirates. We might get scurvy and die a horrible death. However, I think you will agree it will be an adventure, a great one indeed. That did not happen. Noblemen didn't leave. Those who were doing well did not leave. Only the losers got on the boat. People say things like, well, my family came over on the Mayflower. Okay, sweetheart, you might not want to talk about that. If you actually knew who was on those early ships, I'm not sure who was, but I know who wasn't. The king. The king was not on that ship. Nobody.
People, what about is talking about, you know? So you see Trump saying one people from Europe. If you notice, Trump sometimes say, you know, it's last time I was in power, him say, you know, one people from Europe and the people, you know, one nobody from shithole country. And I say, boy, the European people are more skilled, more educated, and have more to give to the US. So here comes a white man here. I tell you why him parents come at the United States. They were broke, busted, and disgusted. It was not like them have money and say, boy, let's jump on the ship and set out on this adventure. And he's right. We never hear about no kings and no kingsmen and no rich people who came on these boats to America from Europe. So what the white man is saying right here is saying that they were poor. So those of us who wasn't looking in that area is like, here come this brother named Tom Wise. I tell you how them come here and how they were poor. Like any immigrants, not now go on to Europe. They must struggle. They pile up on a boat. You know, disease upon them boat there. And they find themselves at the West. I come look for something like any immigrants of today. But Brother Tom Wise is putting it very well. Let's continue to listen.
Like black folks and native folks. I mean, even for other white folks, like we spent most of the time in the early colonies trying to figure out who the witch was, right? It was like, well, you're not a Christian. Well, no, you're not a Christian. Well, no, you're not a Christian. I'm going to hang you from a tree, really? Well, I'm going to drown you in the stream. Well, I'm going to set you on fire. Like that wasn't liberty. The colonies were some of the least free places in the history of the cosmos. But we act like we came for liberty and they're just here to take advantage. Let's be clear. Our people didn't come for liberty. They came for stuff. They came for stuff like land. They came for stuff like opportunity. They came for stuff like the ability to feed their families. And there's no shame in that. None at all.
True.
But just like there's no shame in our families having done that, there's no shame in brown families doing that and coming over that border from Mexico, Central America, or wherever else they might be coming. There's no shame in any event, but we've told a lie. It's like we have this image in our head that sometime in like 1650, this was a common scene in England. All the nice white noblemen got together and one of them gathered his children around the fireplace in the middle of the 1600s and said, well, now, children, I think you'll agree with me that we're doing quite brilliant here. And we have this big mansion and we have all this gold. And you remember last week when the king invited us to the palace and you played out in the garden with his children. I know it was brilliant, right? It was great. It was great. It was great. I bet it was lots of fun. But Daddy thinks that we need to stop all that nonsense and maybe strike out on an adventure. So here's my plan. Even though we're doing so well, even though we pretty much run the show here in England, I think that what we should do this summer, follow me, stick with me. I know it's going to be a stretch, but I promise it's going to be great, is we should get on a big boat. A rickety old ship. I don't even know if it's seaworthy, children. It might sink. We might be eaten by sharks. We might get hijacked by pirates. We might get scurvy and die a horrible death. However, I think you will agree it will be an adventure, a great one indeed. That did not happen. Noblemen didn't leave. Those who were doing well did not leave. Only the losers got on the boat. People say things like, well, my family came over on the Mayflower. Okay, sweetheart, you might not want to talk about that. If you actually knew who was on those early ships, I'm not sure who was, but I know who wasn't. The king. The king was not on that ship. Nobody the king really wanted to keep around was on that ship, right? So our inability to see this, though, understand the importance historically. If we don't understand that we came for the same reasons that folks come today, be they documented or not, then we can't see them in us and we can't see us in them. And that's why we have this drama, because we're spending all this time pretending that our motivations and our even human decency and ethics are different when they're not, you see. This is why history matters so much. We can't fix any of these problems, whether it's immigration issues, whether it's criminal justice issues, whether it's wealth disparity, all of that. We can't do anything about that if we're not willing to understand history. But let me close with this. And it's a point that I think needs to be made, because sometimes when we talk about racism and we talk about the heavy weight of history, sometimes people assume that there is an attempt on my part or other anti-racist activists or educators' part to instill guilt in white people. I have no interest in white guilt, none. And people of color surely have no interest in white guilt. Guilt will not liberate anybody from anything. It will not liberate any of us from systems of inequality. It isn't about feeling guilty. It's not even about white people per se. It's about whiteness as a system, right? Sometimes people get tripped up on that, right? And they think like, oh, you hate white people. Actually, let me be clear. I love me some white people. I totally, absolutely love me some white people. My wife is white. I totally love her. Those daughters that I've been telling you about, they're white because that's what happens when white people make babies. I love them. My mom, love her. Nice white lady. And my dad and I don't get along, but it's not because he's white. It's about some other shit that we don't have time to process tonight. But if you read my book, White Like Me, you'll know what some of that is.
Real.
We don't have to talk about that. It's not about white people. It's about whiteness. It's about a system of white supremacy that has turned us against one another, right? And so I want to tell you a story that tries to explain the difference between guilt and responsibility, so you'll know what I mean when I say those things are different, because it's one thing to say that, it's another thing to really understand why.
Tell me.
So let me just share a brief story with you, and then I'll take questions, and I'll let you out of here, and I'll be happy to sell you some books if you want one, because I got a college fund to pay for. So, you know, feel free to come buy some merchandise. But anyway, the story is not about racism. So that part of the speech is over, right? It's not about oppression. It's not about privilege. It's not about inequality. It's about something totally different. But I think the story has a lesson in it about those subjects. So it has to do with something that happened to me when I got out of college. I graduated 26 years ago this May from Tulane University in New Orleans. And when I graduated, for some reason, I'm still not totally clear on this, I thought it would be a really great idea to move into a very large house with 9 other people. Let me just give you a little life advice, all right? Like, if you haven't already figured this out, okay, do not think for 1 minute that it is ever a good idea to move into a very large house with 9 other people. It usually is not nearly as fun as you think it is going to be. It has all kinds of problems, but we didn't think about any of those. We thought it was going to be great. Why? because it was going to be cheap. And we needed that because we were broke, right? We were right out of college. We didn't have any money. Rent was $525 a month. I don't mean per person. I mean total, right? So again, not good at math, but I can do those numbers. $52.50 per person per month, man. You add the cable bill, the utility bills, we split the food, right? It's still less than $100 a month. So like on that level, this was a great idea, right? This was brilliant, right? $100 a month, man. Even in 1990 dollars, that was good, right? It'd be ridiculous today, but it would be good even by 1990 standards. So on a financial level, it made sense. But about 6 weeks into this little experiment in communal living, we came to understand, or at least I did, why it had been a terrible mistake. And this is what happened. I was working downtown and I was living uptown. So I get on the streetcar to come back uptown in New Orleans. I get off the streetcar. I walk, 5 blocks or so into the house on Robert Street. I go up the steps at 1805 Robert. I open the door and I'm met by this incredible smell. And I mean that in a good way, which is important to point out because when you live with 9 other people, there's all kinds of smells. They're usually not good. This one was actually really nice. It was the smell of dinner being cooked for the whole group because we also took turns making dinner for each other. And this particular night, one of my roommates was making dinner. On the left front burner of the stove, there was this big pot of gumbo, right? And man, that's what you do in New Orleans. Big pot of gumbo, and it smelled good, and it looked good, and it even had shrimp in there. Not many, like I said, we were broke, but it had like 3. 3 of those really little bitty ass shrimp, those shrimp that are like so small, right, that they make jumbo shrimp look like lobsters or something, right? And so I looked at it and I smelled it and I thought, man, that looks great. And when my roommate asked me if I wanted any, I normally would have said yes, but as it turned out, I didn't know he was going to make gumbo for the night. And so I'd already had dinner downtown before I, came uptown after I got off work. So I said, hey man, I already ate, but do me a favor. Smells great, looks great. Take me some of that, put it in a container, put it in the fridge. I'm going to take it to work tomorrow for lunch. And he said, okay, great. And so he does that. And then I go upstairs and, listen to music, watch TV, hung out with some friends or whatever, and did whatever we did for fun in 1990. There wasn't much. Like social networking in 1990 was pretty much you just walk down the hall to your roommate's room and you're like, hey, what you doing? And they were like, nothing. It's 1990. There's nothing to do. Go back to sleep. Get with us in like 15 years and there'll be something maybe, or 20 years, right? So we all sort of go to bed early. I went to bed sort of early, woke up the next morning at like 7:30, came downstairs to get some coffee, get ready to go to work. And I noticed that on the left front burner of our stove was still the same pot of gumbo. And man, it did not smell as good or look as good as it had the night before. And my roommate had neither saved any of it for me, nor had he cleaned it. So I was pissed on 2 levels, right? Now the food had gone to waste. I definitely wasn't going to eat it now. But he also left the mess for me or, maybe one of the other roommates to clean. So I sat there and I thought about what I wanted to do. Part of me wanted to wake him up, right? Get him to clean it, give him hell for it. But then I thought, no, I'm going to be nice. I'm just going to clean it. I'll take it up with him when I get home. So I took the pot of gumbo and I brought it over to the sink and I got the brush and the soap and I started running the water into the pot of nasty day old gumbo. And I stopped myself halfway through. And I said, man, I don't have to clean this. This isn't my mess. I didn't even eat any of this, let alone did I make it. So now I'm feeling really self-righteous because I'm talking myself out of doing the hard work, right? So now I feel real smart. So I take the pot of gumbo and I put it right back where I found it on the left front burner, right? And I walk out the door, head held high, knowing that I had not been suckered into cleaning somebody else's mess, right? So then I come back that night at about 6:15, 6:30, and I see one of my other roommates making dinner on the right front burner of the stove. But on the left front burner, right where it had been now for 24 hours, it's the same pot of gumbo getting nastier, more disgusting, more crusted on the sides of the pot. I looked at my roommate. I'm like, man, what are you doing? Like, I know you can smell dinner from last night. How the hell can you make dinner for us now on the right front burner when it's right under your nose? Why don't you clean that? And he looked at me and said, hey, man, I didn't make the gumbo. I didn't even eat any of the gumbo. I wasn't even here last night. How about you? I said, hey, man, not me. Now we both felt self-righteous and we knew what it meant. He looked at me and said, so you want some lentils and rice? And I said, absolutely. So I piled up my plate with lentils and rice. I ate my dinner. I wiped off the dish in the sink, cleaned it, dried it, put it in the dish rack, went upstairs, hung out with the roommates, did whatever we do for fun in 1990. Once again, went to bed sort of early. Woke up the next morning. I'd forgotten to set an alarm. Wake up about 7. But here's a tip. If you're living in a house where a pot of gumbo has been sitting on the left front burner of the stove for what is now 36 and a half hours, you are not going to need an alarm clock to wake your ass up. You are going to be awake, right? Because the smell is going to find you. It is going to crawl out of the pot of gumbo on the legs that it grew overnight. And I'm not speaking in metaphor, English majors. I mean that shit literally. Like the stink is going to grow feet and legs, and it is going to crawl out of the pot, across the kitchen, across the living room, up the stairs, down the back hall, go under your door frame, and it is going to find with the precision of a laser that thing on the front of your face you call the nose, and you will be awake. And now I was pissed, because I knew what the smell meant, right? I knew what was waiting for me on the left front burner, having not been cleaned by anybody, least of all the guy that made the gumbo. So I opened my door real loud. I start stomping down the hall, hoping to wake people up, hoping to let them know just how displeased I am. Live with 9 other people, cannot find one of them. And the guy that made the gumbo is like, where's Waldo? Nobody knows where in the hell he went. He just made the gumbo like a practical joke and disappeared, right? Just wanted to see how long it would take for somebody else to clean up his mess, I guess. And I get down to the bottom of the stairs. I look across the living room into the kitchen. I see the pot of gumbo, and I'm pretty confident the gumbo saw me, right? With the eyes that it had also grown. It was evolving right there in our kitchen very rapidly, yes. And it was at that moment, not one moment earlier, but definitely not a moment later, that I came to understand maybe the most important lesson I'd ever learned about any subject. And what was it? The lesson was, it didn't really matter anymore who made the mess. Didn't really matter anymore who was the author of all this unpleasantness, as the old saying goes. The only thing that mattered was that I was tired of living in that nastiness. I was tired of living with the residue of somebody else's actions. I was not to blame, but I had to take responsibility, because if I didn't, it may not get clean. You see, and the same is true with human society. When we decide that we will clean up the residue of what other folks left us, even though they did it without our permission and without our involvement, when we decide that we're tired of living in that, we will clean it.
What matters
Word.
to you?
We're tired of living in that, we will clean it. Not because we are to blame, not because we are guilty, but because we're the only damn ones left. Thank you all so much for being here. I appreciate your time.
People, that is Tom Wise. This white brother, I spit the fire. He's an activist, and he specializes in Black history as a white man. And I'm serious with him work when I do. As you can see, him not play. The man serious with his work, and I have a lot of respect for the brother, people. So me have another clip to play for you from this brother, and I want you guys to hear it loud and clear.
And for what reason?
Listen.
You know that it was a trick.
Yeah.
Because if you know the history of the whole concept of whiteness, if you know the history of the whole concept of the white race, where it came from and for what reason, you know that it was a trick, and it's worked brilliantly. See, prior to the mid to late 1600s in the colonies of what would become the United States, there was no such thing as the white race. Those of us of European descent did not refer to ourselves by that term really ever before then. In fact, in the old countries of Europe, we had spent most of our time killing each other. We didn't love each other. We weren't one big happy family. The side of my family that comes from Scotland, hell, they didn't even worry about fighting people outside of Scotland. Highlanders and lowlanders just fought the hell out of each other. So there was no white race, but in the colonies of what would become the United States, what did we see in the 1660s, 1670s? We began to see that Africans of indentured servant status, many of them not enslaved yet, they were not necessarily permanently enslaved. Some were, others were indentured like many poor Europeans for periods of 7 to 11 years. They could work off their indenture and then they would be free labor technically. Realized, as did the white indentured servants, the Europeans who hadn't even been called white yet, that they had a lot of things in common, like the fact that they were all getting their clock cleaned by the elite. And so they would get together more than our history books taught us, to foment rebellion against the elite, to try to get a better deal for themselves on the basis of economic necessity and economic justice. And what did the elite do? When you see that you're outnumbered by black and white folks who are penniless, landless, peasants, You have to do one of two things. You either have to kill them all, but you can't do that because who's going to work? Rich folks weren't going to. They had to get poor people to work. Whole point was to be a person of leisure back in those days. That was the goal, was not to work. So you couldn't kill them all. You didn't want to kill them all. You had to do the work yourself. You had to build your own levee, build your own house. No, pick your own tobacco, harvest your own cotton. No, we're not going to do any of that. So you can't kill them, but you can co-opt them. And so the elite in Virginia, for example, in the colony, begins to give certain carrots to people of European descent, saying things like, you know, we're going to let you own a little land, not much, but just a little. And we're going to get rid of indentured servitude. Now you're free labor. And by the way, once you're free labor, you get 50 acres of land just because you're free labor, see? So we're going to cut you in on this deal. We're going to let you enter into contracts. We're going to let you testify in court. And here's the best of all. We're going to put you on the slave patrol to keep those people in line, right? The idea was you're still going to get your clock clean. We still don't like you. We still aren't going to really empower you or change your economic subordination, but we're going to make you honorary members of this team, and you're going to help us keep those other people down. And so they got a little taste of power, and it did effectively divide and conquer those coalitions. Those rebellions began to stop almost instantly. Fast forward to the Civil War era, you have rich white folks in the South, where I come from, standing up and openly admitting that the reason they're prepared to secede from the Union, and the only reason they ever articulated publicly, ever, was to maintain and extend slavery and white supremacy, not only where it already existed, but into the newly acquired, that is to say, stolen territories from Mexico to the West. That was what they said. Now we lie about it. We say it wasn't about slavery, that it was about states' rights. Yes, the right of the states to keep and maintain slaves, exactly. But back then they had no shame, so they didn't try and cover it up. They openly said it, but once again, the rich didn't want to go do the work. Are you kidding? No, they're going to get poor people to go fight for them. And the poor folks didn't even own slaves. Now think, how do you get poor people who don't even own the shirt on their back, let alone slaves, to go fight to keep your slaves for you? You've got to convince them that their skin is more important than their economic interest. Because think about it. If I am a farmer who has to charge you $1 a day or $2 a week to work on your farm and harvest that tobacco or pick that cotton, but you can get a black person to do it for free because you own them, who's going to get the job? Not me. In other words, slavery actually undermined the wages and the wage base, the economic floor of the typical white working class or low-income person. But they were told, if these people are freed, they're going to take your job. No, fool, they got your job. That's the point. And so at some level, again, working class white people being harmed by white privilege, relatively being advantaged, right? Being given a leg up, being given a membership to the club, but in absolute terms being kept economically subordinated by the very thing that gave them a sense of superiority. How's that?
So people, this is Tom Wise, and this brother is an activist, and he's a writer, among other things. And sometimes it's best to hear from, the horse's mouth, because, many history about ourselves, we really don't know, Yes, we really don't know. We still try to figure out stuff. So we're hearing from Mr. Wise's account of what, certain things is, and educating ourselves, educational purposes. So let's continue to listen. Tom Wise. Give it a thumbs up, people. Like and share this kind of conversation. When we say about share, most black people will walk past this kind of conversation. Me, I tell anybody so. And no passa. Me not tell nobody because suck out them mother. I know them type of video they may play. This is a different type of consciousness. And this kind of video will only attract a certain type of conscious people. Let's continue.
For irony. Then in the present era, this hasn't stopped. This is not ancient history. Now we have people running around insisting that we should close the border with Mexico because if we don't, the wages of working class people will continue to fall. The implication being that the only reason workers are paid like crap in this country is because the border is open. But if you believe that, you would actually have to believe that if that border were closed, that all these owners of capital and industry would just say, oh, well, you figured us out. Here, it's a raise. Do we really believe that the only thing keeping bosses from paying people more is the presence of low-wage, medium, semi-skilled labor from south of this artificial border? Is that really what we believe? We know that if that border is closed, it isn't going to be closed to capital. It isn't going to be closed to goods. If you have a border that can be crossed by capital looking for the highest return on investment or goods looking for the highest price, but labor is chained to its country of origin, how is that going to work to the benefit of working people? By definition, it doesn't. By definition, it immiserates the working class. Divide and conquer. But the best example of all, perhaps, in the contemporary era, in the greater New Orleans area after Katrina. Here you have two communities that were the most hard hit. The lower Ninth Ward, mostly black community, 94% African-American, about 40% official poverty rate, heavy working class community. And right across the canal, St. Bernard Parish, Chalmette, 95% white, also working class, high levels of poverty, economically very similar. And at the end of the day, in those first few days of September 2005, more similar than they probably would have realized. Because when those levees broke, they all got their stuff jacked. They all got their stuff destroyed. But if you had asked white folks in Chalmette, and I've done it, who was the cause of the problems in the greater New Orleans area prior to that flooding, they would have pointed across that canal at those black folks, wouldn't have called them black folks, and would have said, there, that's the problem. 70% of the white folks in St. Bernard Parish voted for David Duke, white supremacist, neo-Nazi, former head of the largest Ku Klux Klan group in the United States when he ran for governor in 1991. 7 out of 10 gladly voted for him because he was blaming black folks for all of their problems, and they bought it. What's the irony? The irony is that while they were blaming black people for their problems, while they were blaming black people for the conditions of the greater New Orleans area in which they lived, nobody was paying attention, least of all they, to the fact that these white elite politicians, either in Baton Rouge or in Washington, whose job it was to secure those levees, to make sure that levy funds were spent in the proper way and that they were spent at all, those mostly white and mostly elite politicians did nothing. At the end of the day, it wasn't just the black folks in the lower Ninth Ward they didn't care about. They really couldn't have given a rat's ass about those poor and working class white folks either. Mm-hmm. And yet, when the people of Chalmette, people of St. Bernard Parish got back into session, first time they had a city council meeting, parish council meeting after the flooding, the lights aren't even on yet. The water isn't even hooked up. And the first order of business was to pass an ordinance saying that you couldn't rent property in St. Bernard Parish to anyone who wasn't a blood relative. Now, I'll leave it to your imagination as to why you want to pass a law. That law had never existed before. But now that it's been emptied out and you don't know who might come back, that's a damn good way to keep black people out, isn't it? Because if you're 95% white to begin with, if you pass an ordinance that says that, that's a great, you can't say no blacks need apply. You can't say no blacks allowed, but that was an ingenious way to get around the law. Now, they got caught. There was a lawsuit threatening, they got rid of the ordinance. But my point in bringing it up is to say, once again, divide and conquer is working. These white folks in Chalmette need to march across that canal and join hands with the black folks who've been sitting there more than willing to work with them for an awful long time, and march on Baton Rouge and march on DC and march on the Corps of Engineers and recognize their commonality of interest. But the whiteness and the lure of whiteness has tricked these have nothing in their bank account white people into believing that they got more in common with the rich white folks on St. Charles Avenue that didn't lose anything in that flooding than they have in common with the black working class folks who live about 500 yards away.
So family, this channel, you know, say, I'm for all people, and I don't support discrimination on my channel. Tom Wise is not a racist or a hateful man. Him tell you, he's talking about blacks. He specializes in activists. He specializes in black history. His wife is white. Him telling kids and white. But it's like he's called for a moment like this to do this kind of work. So we're going to listen a little bit more Tom Wise, because respect to Mr. Chris Campbell and Douglas Allen. You guys just a pop up. We're talking about Mr. Tom Wise. Guys, we need to start Google this brother and check out his work and learn some things. Like I said before, this kind of video is not for everybody. Most black men will hear this kind of argument and they will walk right past it. I repeat, most black men will hear this brother speak as so and walk past it because this video is boring. That video is boring. Let me go to a short break and I'll be right back with more Tom Wise.
I've been asking for tissue since I've been here. Yeah, but this is not. And there's still no tissue in any of the bathrooms. I've been asking for tissue since I've been here. I've been asking for tissue. No one's giving me any tissue. I also need another diaper. I need another diaper and I need some tissue. I've been asking for tissue since I've been here, and now she's mad because I'm using paper towels. What else am I supposed to do? Can I have a diaper, please? This shouldn't be like pulling teeth. Alright, this is. You don't provide those personal information. How am I supposed to know that when I'm not from here? Okay, so somebody should have informed me.
All right, family, welcome back. Now, this session with Mr. Tom Wise is at a college, and this is a Q&A session with him. Yeah. Tom Wise is an anti-racist activist, essayist, and author of 7 books on racism, inequality, and white privilege. He spoke to the San Jose City College community on April 20th, 2017. So this is a Q&A video. So we want to hear what the audience have to ask Tom Wise. As I know, a college him there. You know, students going to come up with all different kind of questions. Very interesting. So we're going to listen and probably learn more about this brother right here on the screen named Tom Wise. Like up the live, people, share them type of argument, yeah. Look here, Wagwan. Respect each other for one.
So we're going to do Q&A for 20 minutes.
Dr. White, thank you for coming here. My name is Fabio Gonzalez. I'm a faculty member here at San Jose City College. And one of the questions I really want to ask you is, I'm pretty sure there's a number of people that have come to you and tell you, why are you preaching so much hate through your speech and everything you go around saying? But you're not alone. There's many of us that feel the way you feel. But I wanted to ask you, from a perspective of a person of color with a higher degree in graduate and so forth, how do you continue preaching with this kind of momentum and trying to develop a shift in paradigm so that folks can begin to understand that this has nothing to do with color, this has everything to do with survival of our own society?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing that keeps me doing it, of course, is contrary to those who accuse me and you and others who do this work of hate, right? It's really, and I don't mean this to sound corny at all, but it's really about really intense love, you know, love for other people, love for the society in spite of its flaws. It's what's always ironic to me about people that accuse those of us who talk about the flaws of America as being unpatriotic or hating the country. If I hated the country, I wouldn't even waste my breath. I would just let it collapse, right? If I hated the country, I mean, in spite of my love-hate relationship with it, which I think most awake people have, I still love the potential of the country and the people of the country. And so that keeps me doing it. That keeps me energized to do it. My children keep me energized to do it because I know that the world they're going to inherit is going to be ever more dangerous even than the one that we're living in right now. And a recognition of the fact that so many people who have faced so much more than I will ever face, for sure, as a white person, have stood up and done the work. If people of color can risk everything for justice, then who am I not to do that? Who am I not to put my life on the line? Who am I not to, you know, take whatever shit I got to take from people. Well, who am I not to get death threats or whatever the hell, I mean, that happens, but people of color, their lives are endangered every day they walk out the door. So why would I think that I'm entitled to any greater safety than they, right? So what keeps me going is a recognition that we got a really short period of time on this planet, each of us. We could live 50 more years or 50 more minutes. And in the brief period of time that even if you live to be 100, the odds are against that, by the way, but even if you live to be 100, right, that is a blip in the history of the world that is so tiny you couldn't even physically represent it. It's meaningless in the larger scheme of things. So if you've got such a short period of time, you got to do something to justify your time here. You got to do something to justify all the oxygen that you took up, right? And all the resources that you use. Because if the only meaning of life is you just get born and you get an education, you get a job, you retire and you die, then what the hell, man? We should just all do opiates and just check out. If that's all there is, my God, sign me up for some heroin. There's got to be more to it than that, right? There's got to be something about us as human beings that compels us to do right by our communities and by our brothers and sisters and folks all across a much more complicated gender fluid spectrum than that, I should point out. And we have to be prepared to make those decisions because that's what it means to be alive, right? And so even when you get down and you get discouraged and you get cynical, you have to keep doing the work. And it may be that we do the work and nothing changes. But I do know this, if we don't do the work, nothing changes. That is certain. And so between the possibility of change and justice and the guarantee of defeat and injustice, I'm going to choose hope and do the work. Thank you for the question. Yes.
That's how I feel.
Thank you for continuing to speak about justice and speaking on right issues. I want to touch bases on Bill O'Reilly, who for years and years and years denied anything remotely associated with white privilege.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever were on his show or not.
Oh, no, never.
But, he just was released by Fox News yesterday.
Yes.
Do you anticipate backlash for that?
Of course.
How could somebody who is in such a high state of denial for decades and decades have gotten the high ratings? I guess I already know the answer, but I want you to speak to that.
Right. Well, he got those ratings and he has that support because the people who love and support him are also in denial in the very same way. There's a lot of people who don't know the truth of the history of this country, and deliberately so and purposefully so. Bill O'Reilly's an interesting example of it. And here's a guy, keeping in mind, and I don't like to kick a person when he's down, but let's just do it. Because he would, or he would sexually harass a woman when she was down, I suppose. So, what I'm going to do is pretty mild by comparison. Bill O'Reilly, for years, as you said, denied that there was any such thing as white privilege. And this he denied even as, I should point out, even as he grew up in a place called Levittown on Long Island. Now, I don't know if you know the history of Levittown, but Levittown was a planned community that was created by a builder, last name of Levitt, thus the name. And at the time, right, Levitt was asked if he would allow blacks to live in his planned homes. There are all these sort of simple cookie cutter homes, nothing fancy, just basic starter homes. And he said, look, I can either solve the race problem or I can solve the housing problem. I choose to solve the housing problem. And what ended up happening was no person of color was allowed to live in Levittown. There was one ultimately also built in Pennsylvania, but the first one was on Long Island. So Bill O'Reilly literally grows up in a community where black people cannot live and says he's never had white privilege. I don't know how to deal with that level of denial. I don't. How do you say you never had white privilege and you grew up in a place that only people like you could live because you were white, right? So his denial is quite profound. Other people's maybe not as profound as his, but I think there will be a backlash. Sure, because people dearly love Bill O'Reilly in spite of his idiocy. They dearly love the Rush Limbaughs of the world despite theirs. They used to love Glenn Beck. I guess maybe not so much anymore. There are people that sort of do fall from grace. I'm sure there will be a backlash, and Bill O'Reilly will write a new book called Killing O'Reilly, because that's what he does. He writes books about killing Lincoln, killing Patton, killing whoever, killing Jesus, and now he'll write one called Killing O'Reilly and play the victim of political correctness. But the man is a serial sexual predator, period. And we actually know that there was not only have there been a number of suits settled in that regard, there's actually recordings of him, back in the day, in the earlier 2000s, sexually harassing a woman on the phone, right? And talking about
people. These are allegations, not necessarily what I think on this platform, okay? So these are allegations about Mr. O'Reilly coming from Mr. Wise. Let's continue to listen.
Sex with her with a loofah, which is that thing you use in the shower to scrub the dead, but he couldn't remember the word loofah, so he called it a falafel. Like honest to God, the man is a sick sexual predator. But, look, the good news for Bill O'Reilly is you can be a sexual predator and you can actually go on to a job considerably higher up and more powerful than a commentator on Fox News. You can be someone who regularly sexually predates against women and ultimately become president of the United States. So I suppose we'll have to look out for Bill O'Reilly at some point in having a political career, because I guess sexually harassing and even abusing women is no disqualifier from the presidency. So there you have it. Next question, please.
So this is a comment. The Department of Health and Human Services released a statement yesterday. The Trump administration awards grants to states to combat opioid crisis.
Yeah.
So the HHS will administer grants totaling $485 million to all 50 states, basically to combat all the opiate crisis amongst the states and territories.
Right.
So I found it interesting that you were mentioning about the opiates, about people being addicted, and I read this morning, actually.
Yeah, well, hopefully that money will come through. I think it'll be interesting to see if that really happens. Of course, that money will have to be released by Congress, and so the intention of the HHS may be to make that money available to deal with the opioid crisis. That doesn't mean the money will come through. I hope it does. The second point worth making, though, is that if they succeed in repealing the ACA and actually getting rid of the Affordable Care Act, it's going to be harder for people to get health care who have addiction problems, because part of the ACA's requirement standards of care is that things like addiction treatment have to be covered. And there are a lot of people in Congress, the president, I don't think, has weighed in on it so much, but on that part, but there are a lot of people in Congress who have said that they want to get rid of that. They don't want insurance companies to have to cover that. They don't want insurance companies to have to cover pregnancy even, let alone drug addiction or mental health counseling. And so the downside is, even if the HHS puts that money forward, which I hope they will do, I'm not sure that'll be a sufficient amount for it, but it's a decent start, and I hope it happens. It could be undermined on the other side by repealing or significantly altering the ACA. And of course, the opioid crisis isn't really, just like drugs in general, the drug problem of usage and addiction doesn't go away unless you deal with the root causes of what's provoking it. And in this case, it's the hopelessness that exists in an economy that was not created for the benefit of working people. And nobody in Congress who's pushing for the policies that this president talks about, nobody who's pushing for tax cuts for the wealthiest Americans and doing very little to actually create jobs. They're not renegotiating NAFTA. That's completely gone now. Nobody's talking about that. They're not talking about, getting tougher on trade deals anymore. That's gone. They're not really talking about an infrastructure bill to put people back to work, because even though Trump says he wants it, the Congress certainly doesn't. Right. And so all the stuff that might actually have provided some hope to people isn't likely to come through. And that's going to mean that people are going to continue to use and become addicted. So we got to have a prevention, not just a treatment. Treatment is what you do after the fact. We got to have a prevention strategy. And you have an Attorney General of the United States who has said in his own words, we just need to get back to what Nancy Reagan said about drugs. Just say no. That didn't work, y'all. Like, if you were alive in the 80s, that did not work. So if that's going to be their strategy, dear God, 400 million or whatever it is not going to be enough to solve the problem. It would certainly be great if it happens. I just don't anticipate that it's going to be sufficient, is my.
So, family, that's Tom Wise. And I'm going to leave it right there. See the name there. Google it. Check him out. Check out him work. And, we can learn a few things. Yeah, we can learn a few things from Mr. Tom Wise. And, sometimes it's best when I hear from the horse's mouth, because remember, a lot of Black people history is messed up when, you know, when certain people write the history book. But let me tell you how I feel about Trump, because he brought up Trump policy in this. But let me tell you how I personally feel about Donald Trump. How I feel about Donald Trump, I'm going to say it again, I said it before, is that, you see, America people, they want Trump. They vote him back in. Me can't fight them in them place. I hit them want. What you gonna do? As an immigrant, neutralized immigrant, whether you're a citizen or a permanent resident, you're neutralized. So basically, everybody in the same boat. And laws can change as long as you're neutralized, whether you're a citizen or a permanent resident. So things can change against you, providing the right man as a leader and the right judge read upon the court that day. You know, so things can change. So how I feel about Trump is that we should learn from this moment in history. We should learn, if these people want to dump you in your country, want to get rid of immigrants, maybe it's time for everybody to stand up on their own foot. You know what I'm saying? Every time to sit up on their own body. It's about time my country, Jamaica, and other countries stop leeching off America to survive, to stay alive, to live, to have a life. What if our countries could get rid of corruption and every dollar staying in the country, nobody not thief nothing, with country up and it go on good. We don't have to run across the border to come overseas. So maybe it's time for all of us to wake up, because today is Trump, tomorrow is who? We don't know. It might be somebody who decides I go even deeper on this. Yeah, and we sit down and we are wonder, we are fret and we are run round and we are worry and we are quarrel, we go out there and we protest and we make nice and the people in place. And not looking at the origin or the genesis of the reason. Why we're there? Why are we here in these people's country? Tell me why we're there now. Why we're there? Because the country now run good. Some of we graduate from good school. A hotel them a send we our call center. And we feel say, boy, we have more to offer to this world than work at a call center or spread bed in a hotel. We want better for ourselves. You know, and it now present itself to us in Jamaica. We run away. It's not like the white countries never send help to Jamaica to help us. Look at all the youth programs in Jamaica, like, for instance, the $902 billion that is unaccounted for from the Ministry of Education and Youth. And youth. $902 billion unaccounted for. You see, Royal Reed out them not gonna jail yet here, but Miss McLean for your case. Everything them just target the youths. We get all type of money from overseas to help the youth in Jamaica, help out education. But it seems as if you never touch the ground. When you have your own leader in your country, have 28 bank accounts and have buildings all about. When you have PNP and labor right politician in Jamaica, so should go in there and work out them finger and them shirt for us. Yeah, but them go in there find time to set up apartment complex. Using the time where we hire them and paying them to conduct our business, to conduct them own business. Remember, we did not hire these politicians. We never vote them in to conduct them own business. We hire them to deal with our business. None of these politicians never run an vote me in to build my own personal apartment complexes. None of them never run like that. So we see PNP and labor right. Everybody are running an apartment complex. Nobody's focusing on the people. Yeah, our problem is corruption. And I believe if we could get some help from the United States to deal with corrupt politicians from the Caribbean to Africa, the weight of immigrants and the burden to taxpayers would be lessened. You understand what I say, people? It will decrease because a lot of people will run from the country. A lot of people are run from the country because we have some thief in our office as leaders who rob everything from the country and leave the people them poor And people are run for a better life. That's why they end up in these countries. So I'm learning what's going on here. I learn, I hear Trump attack, I hear people attack, this and that. I say, hold on there. From the Caribbean to Africa, we have beautiful, beautiful countries, beautiful islands. The country now have states. So look at Jamaica, for instance. We talk about $3 trillion unaccounted for. That's $3 trillion. That could have run the country for 3 years, for 3 or 2 years, people. That could run the budget for 3 or 2 years. But it is unaccounted for. And even though it's unaccounted for, them are going like say it is not missing. And all different type of word to go around the people them like we're idiot. I believe if the US give us a hand to get rid of crooked politician, it would be better for the immigration system in America. Most people don't have, I'm telling you, Jamaica will just get up and go home at them yard. People from the Caribbean to Africa will get up and go at them yard if we eliminate crooked politicians who come in the office, want land, houses, apartment complexes, gas stations and KFC and all type of restaurants. Thief so much until them send some overseas, just be thieving from the country. That is our problem. And if Donald Trump really want to get rid of immigration, fix the immigration problem, you have to lock up criminal politicians. It don't matter how much people they deport back to them country, Mr. Trump, they will be coming back. People are come back. You can't tell a man if he stay in a situation where I'm hungry, where I'm starve, and know say if him come to America by any means necessary, him can come for a short time and uplift him life. So you're always going to find people coming across the border. One of the biggest immigration fix for the US or any country in the world, you talk about Spain, all these country people, France, Africans running across the border to these countries too, Africans running from them country, they have diamond, they got gold, the Africans, they got oil, they got everything. But Africans have to go across them Arab nation country. Sometimes them grab them people. And I've seen what them do to some Africans that come across them plane there. I come and speak, them come to Europe for a better life. They come from place where have gold and diamond, oil, every goddamn thing in it. But it not trickle down to the people them. So they have to run away from black leaders, coming to countries where white leaders live. Why you believe that happen? So even though a man knows say if can come across Arab land and if can dead, even though a man knows say he can jump on raft or come from the Caribbean and can capsize overseas there, you drop out. A man still got to take the chance. That's why I tell you say, no matter how much people Trump deport, they might come back. They might come back, some of them. They might come back. The real fight, immigration fight, I want them to look, because think about the amount of money it will cost US to scrape up and deport people from all over the world. We say it will be easier to lock up leaders who have to rob from the people and exploit them, why them have to run from your country because of a little taxpayer money from the US. Go to these countries to lift up the people them so them not have to run come in your country. Where the money there? And a little of the United States taxpayers' money sent to Jamaica, the Caribbean and Africa to bitch up and patch up and help out in all different type of area, whether education, whether health, the youth them. But the people have never seen nothing drop a ground. All our politicians do is nothing but PR stunt. Everything is wonderful, everything is beautiful. But the people have not seen it. I see that in Jamaica too. PR stunt for days. And Uncle them alone have 28 accounts. Imagine 28 accounts. I wonder if Donald Trump have 28 accounts. Me just wonder. So I say the best way if we deal with immigration for any country, not only the US, for Canada, for France, for Spain, when we see the African them run to, for England, America, when we see Jamaica that come across the jungle, go across the Mexican desert, and come at the border, come beg. We have never seen that in the life of Jamaica. Never seen when no Jamaicans have to run across come border. Look what the people do. Go across the jungle. Through the jungle. Cross the desert. Come on the border, come beg. We used to only see those things on TV. As Jamaicans, we used to only see refugees on TV. Never know some Jamaican people them in a fall night. Why we are run from black-led countries? Why we are run from country run by black leaders and run come a white man country? Why? Because black leaders are stop thief. When in a office I have a type of apartment complex I build PNP and labor rights. I want to listen to what we're saying today. PNP, labor rights. Sit down in an office out of Jamaica there. I build these big old apartment complexes like my wash money. I would like the US to start turn on the spotlight in these countries where even the court system is corrupt. The judicial system is corrupt. Them not like a politician, them allow them to exploit the people because they're in on it. I'd like the US to start spotlight these countries and lock up this criminal politician. I'm telling you, man, you'll have so much Jamaicans just going back to the country. Once you cut off the head off of the snake and start address corruption, the US have the know-how. They have the information. I'm sure they got the evidence. What now wait for? What now wait for? The US have everything. They know what them are look on. What is the US waiting for? The longer they wait, the more people are going to flood the US. They said the amount of immigration law and going to stop people from people. People still going to come. If people can risk them life, left them yard, come out some jungle where them don't know, to some cartel land, to Mexico, they risk them life. If people can jump on boat, pan look canoe, and come out at sea and say, boy, I got better land, all means necessary. People risk them life. So don't tell me you're going to deport people and they're not going to come back. They're going to be right back. Were they right there when you're in the office or when you come out of office? You have 4 years in the office. If you want to make a dent on immigration in America, Trumpy, they say it already in a video, you know. You have to attack the leaders in our country. Not attack the symptom. The immigrants who come over the border illegally, that is just a symptom, but there's a problem. The problem is within our countries. Politicians take everything. Let's look on it good. Our prime minister have 28 bank accounts and all kind of galangins while him in the office. Look on it good. What US politician could have done that while they're in the office? What Canadian politician can build big apartment complex while they're in the office? What British politician can build these big old apartment complex while they're in the office? Me ask you. Then you see the reason why we are running away from our country where politicians are in office and build big old apartment complex too. Countries where politicians though in an office and build big old apartment complex. These politicians more, I'm not saying that you know have corruption or foreign. Corruption they're everywhere. We are human beings. We're always gonna F up. But when them catch them, so man pay the price. Man pay the price. You don't have a corrupt set of politician, corrupt court system, corrupt police system, like what we have at Jamaica. Our island, our countries from the Caribbean to Africa, and whatever they keep a run of America, yeah, and Canada and England and Europe and all them places there. Believe me, Missy Africans are run over Spain. This is somebody that get caught in an Arab land. Arab abuse them people. Some of those videos I'm watch, I can edit it and put it out here. Disgusting what Arab do to Africans Some of them shoot up them boat and make them boat sink or sea. Enough of them bubble. They do them all type of stuff. Africans risk them life. I come from Africa. I got Europe. Africans will have diamond and gold and all type of something where the West I exploit out of them country. With the help of them leaders. Let me tell you something, man. I don't know if it's cheaper for the US to keep the secret for crooked politicians. Because we know the US have all the evidence. While they exploit the country or whatever. I don't know what the thing behind it. I don't know if that is cheaper. Or allow politicians from this country to continue to exploit and deal with the people in a certain way. And the people run come to America now. Whether they're on Section 8, food stamp, cash aid, health care, they pick their go to school. While the politicians get to exploit the people back home. I think the best step to take to fix immigration, even when Trump come out of office sometime 4 years, his legacy would have live on if a really immigration you fight for your country. People don't worry about when I fight nobody for them place. You know. I wish should have fixed the place. I saw me look on it. I wish should have fixed the place that the next man tell us if you come out and go your yard. Damn embarrassing. And you should have fixed your roof to make sure so you can go your yard and in a leak when rain fall. How if we fix the place? We have to stand up on our own. Marcus Garvey no teacher, man. We don't have the teaching of Marcus Garvey. If you go back to the teaching of Marcus Garvey, them think they're in it. We're not supposed to run come out of that man land. We can't, I mean, this is not sustainable for the next generation, the next, how many generation? We just look for one way. Boy, them wicked in America, you know, boy. You see all Trump, you see all blah, blah, blah. Boy, we can't call people for them place. Every people say, Carlos, come go up. Hey, what am I going to do? Come go up. Yeah. You know, Douglas, they might war with each other plus having civil wars. Yeah. But you know what? Let me tell you something. All of them look think we say are going with the African them. You know, come from them, you know, outside interference, destabilization, because we simply can't go back to Michael Manley. We don't ever go that far in our history. We can't go back to Michael Manley and Siaga. And now the documents are out. They are declassified. So we can go read it. Anyone of we can go read what during Siaga and Manley era, what went wrong when the economy in Jamaica went down and the people them get rid of Michael Manley. And why they get rid of Michael Manley and what the cause it. We understand say it's Siaga now. Yeah? So the one time with the help of Siaga, we have outside interference. So even in a recent history with Siaga and Manley, if we go and read those documents, are them available for everybody to read right now. So we don't have to just listen to lies. The documents are out. Them declassify them people. Where you can read about Siaga and Manley, or Siaga really was effective in destabilizing Jamaica. And I believe it's the same thing such man is doing right now. You understand me? Because Siaga went and go care bad news and go tell some people to turn them back against who you the people, because if you stop aid from coming to Jamaica, it's hurting the people with some propaganda of Michael Manley that turned communist and all kind of little things people back then. So even a recent history. So Siaga allow outside interference. Siaga, you know. Just like so many other African nations. The people them right there, the leaders will allow outside interference for a pocket full of money. Not even for politics and for the people. For a pocket full of money. They would allow outside interference. And let me show you something. Outside interference can't come in unless the people in there say yes to it. Traitor, not true. Because me not too long I watch a video, I watch it several times of some leaders in Africa who are apologizing to us, black people, whether they are Jamaica, in the Caribbean, anywhere in the West. Some African leader, them apologize to us and say that we should come back home. And they regretted what had happened to us. That we were sold off into slavery. And what the African leaders said is profound. The man them said it's not like them didn't fight for us and put up a fight. The man them also said slavery couldn't go on without the help of other Africans. You hear me I say? Slavery could never happen without the help of other black men. And that people, recent videos, them out there, where African leaders apologizing to us in the Caribbean and say we must come home. The man them say, and I look and I fight, them did not fight for us. And I fight them, fight so them couldn't take we on the ship and take we out of the place. But the man them said they couldn't come up against guns. Because by then, some so-called sellout chief with a trade for a gun. The white man bringing the guns. So the ones that were them bow and arrow in Africa, the sticks and clubs, couldn't go up against guns. That's what the African them say, you know. And them apologize to us. They say slavery couldn't happen without the help of other blacks. Them say it's not like they didn't fight for us. They fought. So it's always somebody among us bringing the poison in the colony, like we have poison ants and rat. And one of them just bring the poison in the colony, come dirt everybody. You understand me? I say, people. So when we hear these African leaders come out in a recent time and say that, people may tell us the whole speech. What the man must say that, may I tell us people, me feel away. It's like you bring cold bump. You bring me some emotions. When we hear the man say, especially the part of them say, it's not like we did not fight. We fought, but we couldn't go up against guns. So the first slave trade. Look at it, the first slave trade. Who conduct that? It was when we come to the West. Or we were already sold to the white man by black man from Africa. People know what time if we're looking at ourselves and be smart. Yeah? When we look at white and black and how things are, me not hate white people, you know. Me not have no bone of racism in me. Like me tell you, say, my mother is already half white. Right? I'm thinking my mother come from German. My mother is half white. My father is black. Hence my little color we got. Right? Me not hate the Chinese. Me not hate the Indian. Me not hate the white man. Me not hate no race. Me not care where me not hate you because me not have no heaven and hell to put you on this platform. No. We don't do that. What we need to do is look at each other. Look at the white man. We see how them are flourishing in life because we alone they're behind. Not true as black man. The Indian, the Chinese, the whites, they're ahead away. You know, financially and every other alley. I would there back here somewhere and say, yeah. And like I said, there are interference. Interference is like how my brethren tell about African wagwan. There is interference to make sure say we always about heads. But them always seems to buy out some among us to cause the riot, to cause the conflict, to go to people. It happen. Somehow we get bought out to bring poison in our own colony. We as our people. How I look at life is don't hate the white man, don't hate the Chinese man, don't hate the Indian man. Look what they are doing and we're not doing. No, seriously. What the white man do that black people now do? What the black man is doing that the white, the Indian, the Chinese man not doing? What is it that the Chinese, the Indian, and the white, they are not doing but we are doing. And you'll find the solution to our problem right there. We are different from nobody else. We just not learn as a set of people. May I ask again, what is it the whites, the Indian, the Chinese are do? What we not do? What is it the white, the Chinese, and the Indian are not doing, but we are doing it? Huh. We can fix a lot of things if we just sit down and think about that. We can fix a lot of things, man. Instead of sit down and hate the white, the this, the that. And that's how we look at life. No, man, and that's how we look at life. Because if we're coming from slavery as a black people who will build the White House, I mean, look, we see a black man turn president, not for 1 term, but for 2 terms, because it was not a mistake that them vote for you for that 1 term. 2 terms, right? White people vote for him. They still hope for black people. Me not sit down and ball and walla in the dirt and talk about slavery yesterday. We have come a long way. We have to learn to live together on this earth. Me understand you? Or you're miserable and tan? Me know so me come here yard, me must open my fridge. Me understand that one day over there, so me know so me come here yard, me must take off my shoes at your door. No shoes in your house. Me understand that one day over there, so. You understand? You have to understand the people who live among people, because we all have to live on this earth together. And if you look good, you find out, say, black people I do a lot of things where everybody else now do. And I like me, I tell. Black people doing a lot of things where other people not doing. And that's our problem, you know. And black people are not doing a lot of things that other people are doing. The problem, the right, that's all, you know. Right, that's all. Right, that's all. Number one, we can't even do business together. We can't even have a group, a company, like here, Jerry and nephew, DNG, and you hear them stuff, you know. You see white men put up them company all the time, H&M, and, you know, people put 1 and 1 together, make 2 and start a company. We as black people, we don't string like that. We don't string up like that. You know, we want to own a thing, and even if we have to struggle and suffer with it. We want to own a thing, and that's how the thing said. Other people, them take the chance. That's what other race do, what we now do. So much of. Other race, let me tell you what them do, what we now do again. Them live together. They will pile up in our own house. And everybody pile up in an house, right? Me see the Chinese and the Indian, them do it, all the Mexican, them. Pile up in a house, and the Chinese, then when they pass for them, they see about 100 foot of shoes out the door because they don't wear shoes in the house. The Mexican, them, you see a whole pack car out the door because everybody a drive because they go to work. But them all living at the house together. Indians the same. And them everybody in the house and them pay for this big old rent or the mortgage. If everybody pitch in on the mortgage or the rent, guess how much everybody pay per month for rent? Toilet paper money. If everybody pitch in on the light and the water every month and the food, guess how everybody can save money? Bigly, right? So that give you more financial energy that the other race them do, you know. Me I tell you, people them do it, you know. Me I tell you, me live in California, me see or Mexican come in my community and them work together. And next thing you know, them build it, them buy the next house next door, and they buy the next, because they look out for each other. Yeah? And before you know it, them have a whole in Mexican city or Chinatown. So everybody help ease the burden when everybody pitch in together and help lift up this piece of heavy log. You find out that the burden to lift up the log is not so heavy if everybody lift it up together. That will give you more financial power and strength to buy the house next door. And before you know it, everybody at their own house and have a piece of America have money. But we don't stay like that. We have to change the mindset. We have to. We understand there's a lot of things working against us, but we can change. We are black people. We can triumph. How long we're going to see the obstacle in the way and I say, a peer obstacle in a black man way, you know? What obstacle you talking about? See a obstacle over there? See a hole there, so? See a wall there, so? A fence there, so? A red tape there, so? Black people know all of that. So now, since we know all the problem there and the pitfalls, we have to figure a way to get around it, get over it, and move past it. And that should be black people focus moving forward. Don't tell me about I have a dream from back in the days, from my grandfather days, and we're not trying to work forward and help ourselves. So be here Trump attack and all this stuff. Me look at myself and say, you know, say, if black man really, I think, we're looking at ourselves deep now and say, you know what? How about time to uplift ourselves, you know? God know, because if we don't get some help from some foreign country, we're dead for hungry. Eh? How long we gonna wait for your man give you a piece of sliced bread? If you don't give me breakfast, me dead for hungry. Good God, man, no time if you go work, man. So me not have to come here for breakfast. No time if you be self-sufficient, man. What is here? Boy, me man, come see. Our country, Jamaica, beg bread. Begging bread. No matter what kind of civilization and technology, and no matter what get modern, we still have beg bread. If me come up here, yard every man, you give me bread. My God. What this man? That is what the Caribbean country and the African country they now look upon. Them get themselves caught up in all type of promise, make some man come in them country and tell them some things, and then now look upon the people. Because when them tell them some things, I believe it don't like benefit them one and not the people. Even when it's a detriment to your country, black leaders will sell you out in a heartbeat. That's why from the Caribbean to Africa, black man a jump fence. Run the left and black leader, come a white country. Come beg bread. It never be so, people. Look what youth graduate from University of Jamaica. Them not stay there. Country can't hold them. They're not figure the youth them. We have to create a system where we keep and retain the best and the brightest. We have to change people. Because we have to pay attention to Burkina Faso. Ibrahim Traore, you guys have to pay attention. Man, hospital is up and running. The man build him hospital in a couple of years. You saw long Cornwall Regional Hospital bill went from a couple billion to 21 billion. And I'll know. It look like Mark Golden have to come in an office and finish Cornwall Regional Hospital, man. Look how long it a bill. From $2 to $21 billion. Ibrahim, couple years. So you show you a difference when a politician who come in there for the people, opposed to a politician who come in there just to get fat, 28 bank account, a bill apartment complex while they're in there. You just come to take from the people. If you're in the office with a PNP and labor rights and a bill apartment complex and all this stuff while they're in the office, you're just there to take from the people. That's how I look on it. You are just there to exploit the people. That's not what the people voted in for. You never run on that. Vote me in. They're going to build myself an apartment complex. They're going to have offshore account. The PNP in a build apartment complex like me. They're going to have them in my son, my wife, my brother, my sister, my mother, my father, my aunt. Hey, think about that, people. Think about if a politician in the office is supposed to serve you in there and get rich. I thief them, I thief it, man. So me look on it. You're thieving from the poor. Why you choose to come in the office and build an apartment complex? Why you never build it before? And wait till you come out of the office. But while in the office, you use all the leverage and the levers where you have in a government and all the fats of the gravy train where you leak to get rich, exploiting the poor. If you're a PNP and labor right and you hear me talk right now, if you're in a power and you build an apartment complex, you're exploiting the poor. And that they vote in for. That's why people have constantly run away from black run country, go white man country. Because black leaders are the worst from the Caribbean to Africa. That's why I say if Trump really want to make a mark and a dent in immigration, set a policy. So even when he come out of office, no other president gonna go change that policy. May I tell you, and that the one policy is lock up crooked leaders around the world who is causing the immigration problem. With people coming across the border, that is a symptom. The problem is in the country where the people have come from. And if the US with all them know-how, knows the everywhere, smell, taste, see it, we don't know more what go on in our country. When the politicians do more than the people who live there. We don't know. Not even the news media know. We don't know more than the Integrity Commission, the US does. We don't know, we don't hear, we don't see. We don't know what's going on. We don't know what is causing the immigration problem in our country. The symptom is people who live in their country. Bird in the country, yes. But there's a bigger problem that I would like America to help us to solve. Crooked politician, put a policy there, man. Just drop a policy, man. Because of the crookedness of politician, why immigrants are run come your country anyway, and they might flood the country. If we don't fix, put a mark, put a dent in it. Lock up few politicians, set an example so the rest will come, will clean up themselves. Yeah? The man them in an office apartment complex, and that we vote them in for people. See, they just one PNP councillor there, him a councillor. Big old complex him have. A business complex and all to sitting and going while they're in an office. So that the people that voted for in councillor. Such man and his wife, $800 million apartment complex, such man wife a bill, and that they voted in for. You never ran on that. Only you never exploit the poor people. A prison enough for them figure. Yeah? Prison them figure. That is what causing the problem in our country. I like to get locked up, man. Like we say, the US a seat. The US know what go on. Them knows in everybody back pocket. We don't know exactly what we are saying. Not even the Integrity Commission or law enforcement know what is going on like how the US know what go on. So one are waiting for lock them up. One are waiting for lock them up and set a precedence. What? For the next millions of people coming on the country. Because you can't stop the people, but they might come. From the beginning of time before me born, people are coming to the US illegally. From before me born. People me and your born come see them thing and go on. And with countries that get more rougher and rougher. Leaders want more bank account, more apartment complex. Inject them son, them sister, best friend, mother and father to come for some of the loot. And some of the people now see this as black people in us. Why? You rather allow them to do it and don't say nothing. And run come a white man country. Where white man not put up to that, you know. White man not put up for that. They will come picket. They will come protest. White man not put up for politician and do that to them, you know. The white man fight for so them film country can stay clear of that where we are run from, you know. But instead of we stand up and we fight, you know. We pack up and we run. Jaja, how many person is going to have a conversation like this morning? Aloud. Wide out, loud, raw, open. Now, so when I do it. But anyway, gentle people, tell me what you think in the comment section. If you don't think say Trump would have left a bigger legacy on this earth if you want to fight immigration. And the reason why I push that too, I become want corruption for done in our country because the system in our country now arrest politicians. Then build the law we can insulate themselves. Then build the law to insulate themselves from prosecution. So since the US, the bigger brother, can see everything in everybody's back pocket, you know, see what go on. To stop, I don't know if you ever look on this, you know, this way. To stop the flow of immigrants coming to your place illegally for generations to come in the future, you have to go to the source of the problem. And the problem is crooked politician. We need to go to prison. I probably wouldn't be in the US. Most of us watching right now wouldn't be in the US, you know. Most of we are watching this right now where the overseas would not be in the US right now watching this or England or Canada. Imagine that. Jamaica is a beautiful place with beautiful people. What is going on there is divide and conquer and the whole mayhem while politicians rob everything. Once you get rid of corruption, everything fixed. Your crime, your health care, your education, the immigration. Look here, man. Thank you guys for watching this video. Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah, but you know what? Some people, Douglas, sometimes when we look at black people, say, like, we forgot ourselves, our lost ourselves. That's what I always say to black people. Look around you. Whether they're inside the house or outside, most man-made things that you're looking at are you invented them, black man. Rise up. Despite what you hear them say, like, we're the worst, we're the loser, this and that and the other. Rise up. Most things you're looking at around you, are we invent them. Space wouldn't be possible without some black woman. Do you understand what I say, people? Everything you're looking at, look in your house. Look at it. To the son and the father cook and enjoy everything in the home. Black man invented them. Most of them. So we don't understand how we are going like say, we don't remember them thing there. Lift up your chest, walk with the head up, push up your chest, black people. Rise up in mighty race. Make we look where we F up. Make we learn to live together. We learn off of each other. The white man learn from we, you know. The Chinaman learn from we. The Indian learn from we. And from all these races we even talk about, the white, the Indian, and the Chinese, they are all coming from us, black people. They are all with brothers and sisters coming from us. You never know that. Yesterday I watched a video with an Indian man was giving a speech, a lecture. How Indians are black people. Because I watch a documentary, we've been watching it all the time, and other documentary, Chinese are come from black people. Whites are come from black people. People, everything coming from us. We have to learn to live together on this earth that God give us. We must learn to live. It's sad that some want to live and don't want others to live. And some want to live exploiting and using others as ladders to get to their destination, thinking that you are better than others. But come to think about it, we all go to toilet. We all have teeth in our mouth. We all want a roof over our head when they get cold. We all want to put on a jacket. We all have blood run through our skin, and none of our blood no green. It's all red. We are equal under the sun. It's just true some people don't believe in that. Think about it. There's a reason why God make every man on earth here. We want the Indian man, we want the Chinese, we want the black man. Everybody there for a reason. No, hold on there. Without the black, without the white man, would you guys be watching a Shark Week? Kind of says a white man not care, you know. They love the adrenaline. They do all type of, they will jump out of plane. Plane don't do nothing, you know. Plane not crash. But man put on sitting by them back and jump out a good plane because that give them the rush. No, without the white man, would you be able to, you would just enjoy them good views there? When a man jump out a plane and the camera come down. Let's get back to Shark Week. Would we be seeing some close-up shots of shark without the white man? The camera, them take all these chances. Black people different. We don't say we're not brave, but everybody have them own. Look at sports. Would sports be this nice without black people? They say everybody had a purpose on this earth, you know. Everybody had a purpose on this earth. We just have to look and learn from each other. Every culture is unique. Look at sports. Would sports be that interesting without us black people? We all have a role to play on this earth, man. Let's play it. And as black people, we need to get conscious. Them type of video is not for everybody. Remember me telling you from the beginning now. What me tell you from the beginning of this video? This kind of video is not for everybody. Black man, you hear this and pass it. So it's boring. They not hear you go suck out your mother over here. They not hear that. So it's boring. But if you notice our stay, what we draw to our programmer brain is what we suck in and it come out away. That's why we stay saying, you know? Ja. Anyway, people, big up Tom Wise. Yeah, I pay attention to him. The part about Bill O'Reilly and those allegations, I don't know nothing about it. You know, Mr. Wise is more, you know, educated than I. So he probably have some knowledge of some stuff. JCTV have no knowledge of that. And, you know, it was a wonderful video. I really enjoyed people just listening to it. You know, educate I and enlighten I to hear from the ass mouth. And them have much more video. When them tell you how the ghetto start. You know, yo, I recently some white girl, rich white girl, give the name ghetto to ghetto, you know. Ghetto where see black people live. It was made for white people. Poor white people was living there and black people was living in the suburb. Then the government help out the poor white people, send them to the suburb. Here come the black people come back to the ghetto, they call the hood. People, a lot of things things are designed, and we know it. So since things are designed, it's like a program. From my generation to the next generation, the generation before me, we see the things the same pattern. It's like a program. So since we know about it, we have to work to get out of it. We can do it, people. We have to shed the nonsense. Like we tell you, most black men would just sit down and listen to a good lecture. They're not going to listen to Tom Wise. Or what black man they say, go sit down and let's not say blacks. Let's talk about Jamaicans. How much Jamaicans you think I go scroll past a Tom Wise video and they go excite them and interest them to sit down and listen what this white brother say? How much black men you think I do that in our country? May I ask again, a simple lecture like this, the brother got college, universities, all about the lecture and all that. How much are we I got cities fit to come and listen to? It's boring now, man. Me not hear about nobody business. So this boring, me want to go up on TikTok and me can't hear about all the nastiness them. People, I swear, that's all we are programmed. Garbage in, garbage out. We don't even read no books. Anyway, people, thank you so much for watching this video. As usual, I am a student in a class. Please make sure this when the comment makes sense in every sentence. Blessings to each and every one of there. So, Alan, faster moderator Douglas. Alan, bless up yourself, family. Real sweet. Blessings to Scott. Barload of guns. No one arrested. Foolishness. You understand me? I said they run the country, man. Black country, man. I said they run the country, man. Bring in sit for dirt them own people. Bring in sit for dirt them own people. Eh? And nobody see nothing here. Nobody. Nothing to see here, man. Nothing to see. Hag and goat style. Black leaders. Black leaders. I said they run the country. Fully corrupt. Like I said, the US full of information and know what go on. And like me I say, whatever reason the US does sit down and look on them info and evidence and rack up them politicians. Yeah. The more the US see the evidence and the proof that the politician corrupt and exploit the country and not doing nothing, and the more people going to flood the border. You're going to spend millions of dollars deport people when you could have simply snap your finger and lock up some politician. If you lock up some politician and corruption gone, many of us who live here already where they have for many, many decades would have gone home. There goes the immigration problem start fixed right there. You want your country? You can get it just like that. So easy. Help it to fight corruption in our country. Our problem is not the youth them in the ghetto. We are bust the gun. At them why we can't go to Jamaica and we looking at them as we problem. Then look at boy, I didn't stop fight. Or them boy are heartless so had them a bust the gun and then look at boy I come kill we. But that is another problem again, just like the immigrants who come here illegally. That is a problem. That is a symptom. There is a problem up top, the fish right from the head. And that is a problem why so much youth are pick up gun in our country. There is a problem. There is a, it looks like there's them deliberately want the place to be flooded with guns. Because when them kids see them just want 8 barrel of gun, nobody don't go to jail. Then deliberately want these things. So may I say, the people of Jamaica, we in the dark. We as bloggers out there, so we don't can talk what we see in the media, so forth and so on. Every now and then we get an exclusive, right? But the US would have known more than the Jamaica law enforcement. You have the embassy at Jamaica, all type of personnel out there, all type of agents. The US know what go on. You can snoop in by the Prime Minister call. I know you probably do it before, but me just say. You can pick up a pin from space by the ground of Jamaica. You know what go on at Jamaica. Help us to steer our yard by helping us with crooked politicians. That is our problem. Our problem is not the youth who are bust the gun. How much barrel come in? How much man them catch? None. Think about it. We want to go home. But killing off the youth, them like come see them shoot 3-3, 2-2. That is not it. I'm going to come on my platform, come tell you and say, I dirt the youth them without cause. Indie come tell me that. Cruelty. They want to do that to act like them a fight crime, make we feel like them a do something for we. Like them a do something for we. No. Crime to fight from top down. Poverty, you fight from bottom up. You fight poverty from bottom up. You fight crime from top down. If me a leader, that would be my strategy. You fight crime from top down. You fight poverty from bottom up. Now, since me explain the crime part, for those of you who never hear me explain it before, I'm going to explain the poverty part. You fight crime from the fish right from the head, don't. And everything will be okay from the start from top. Let's talk about how we approach poverty from bottom. Carlos, what kind of poverty from bottom? You can't give poor people nothing, they not keep it. That is the whole thing. Poor people can't keep money because them always empty. Somebody that don't get money, them needy. So many things to buy. They need a new mattress, they want TV, they want clothes, woman want two panty, want ketchup and then rent, car want tire, car want a new battery, they might drive around uninsured and car no license. There's so much thing to spend money on when poor people get money. That's why poor people don't keep money. That's why the best way to start with poverty is from top. You cannot start from top and bottom. You can't start from top down because it will be like an umbrella. And you under the umbrella as the poor man, you will never get $1. Trump tried that in America already. And the rich man them use them by stocks. They never help out them workers and give them a pay raise and hire more people. What me say? The rich man them in America use them by stocks. Trump tried that. Helping out people at bottom. Now, you give a poor man money. The poor man is not going to keep the money because he's behind and so many things. He have a rinky-dinky car. He probably want to go buy one car. One mattress. Pay some bills. So when they give the poor man, him gone to the middleman. Gonna buy him car. Gonna buy a mattress. A few tires, support, and so on. That's the poor man. So the poor man money and make its way from the bottom, look, from the poor man to the car dealer, the middleman, gone to the rich man where the car dealer have to go back to buy the car from, the car manufacturer, them and the rich man, you know. Right? The 1%, you have to go to the 1% to go buy the tire them, to buy the car them, to buy the battery them, to buy the things where the middleman him no make. The poor man no make it. So when they give the poor man the money I got from the poor man hand through the middleman hand all the way to the 1%. So everybody nice and a benefit don't. So even poor man don't have the money no more, but him have him TV, him have him fresh 4 tires, him have a new car, him have whatever. You understand what I say, people? So everybody benefit even when the poor man is left broke. Because the poor man are going to need enough lift up for if they have little left over. You understand what I say? Because every time the poor man get the money, him behind on everything. So there's so many things him need when he get the little money, so the money not last long. So you have to go to the middleman to buy a car from, to buy a tire from, to buy all these things from your TV where you need from so long. The middleman have to go to the 1%, the rich man, to purchase everything to sell back to the poor people all over again. And look at the cycle. Look at the cycle. It's not a good cycle. But when you bless the rich man, can you fix poverty from top down? The trickle-down effect never work. You bless the top man and now do not more go buy shares and stocks with the money. It's like an umbrella the poor man them stand up under. Yeah? The middleman don't even see nothing. And the poor man starve. So you see it? The middleman, the top man, greedy. The rich people, them greedy. They don't want to share the wealth. So to me, the best to tackle crime from top down and poverty from bottom up. Because when they give the poor man the money, everybody benefit all the way to the top. But when they give the top money, nobody benefit below. How it makes sense to you guys? Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. So, as some see people, look at it good. And you wonder, if them people want to lift up the poor people, why they want to get the rich man, the same rich man never get it over and over again? Look at Jamaica, for instance. Whenever they give a little road contract or any little thing in Jamaica, politician, right? Look, for your little boy, if I have some big belly man, we have some plaza, I get the contract. Them have already, you know. Them have trucks, them have grader, them have front-end loader, them have all type of equipment. They're rich already, you know. They don't need more for a politician, don't. It's hard for a politician to lift up somebody new in a Jamaica. It's always as people, no matter how long PNP or Labour right out of power. No matter how long. When they come back in a power, it's the same man them for your little boy. I get the same contract them. Remember them rich already, you know? Over and over, many times rich. It's the same man them over and over. The same man them I get it over and over. What does that do to the poor man? Nothing. So the politician them always have blessed the big man them. Any road contracts, even farmer can't forgive it. And the big belly man who own the plaza, where a few dumper truck and front end loader, and them the man they get blessed. Them man they no come on campaign trail. You don't see them at their conference. Them all they in green and orange. Them I get the most. So that's why you will always be poor. Because it's top-down strategy they are using in Jamaica. Give the rich man the money in Jamaica. Give the businessman more money. You now go benefit. You now go get none. That is a top-down effect. Will never work. But anyway, people, thank you for watching my video. Hope it makes sense in every sentence. You know, on Sundays, we also have under the Guango Tree, we also reason, you know, people. We also have a program named Under the Guango Tree, where we reason more black issues on my platform on Facebook. So like, we need to go resurrect the Facebook again and start have these kind of conversation where, you know, like-minded people gather and we learn from each other and we reason in this space here about each other. It's not racism, me no racist, me no hate nobody, but me just want my people to step up like the Indians, the whites, the Chinese. Nothing wrong. But find out say the Indians, the white, the Chinese are ahead of us. So I tell me say they are doing something that we are not doing. They are not doing something that we are doing. We need to start look in different areas now. If we find out say that bridge has to tear down and we can't cross the river, so we need to find a different way to cross the bridge, cross the river, people. We need to stop complaining. When the next 10 generation come, we're going to talk about say they might put red tape, the white man do this, white man do that. We need to start figure out stuff now. We are smarter, wiser, more intelligent. Thank you so much for watching this video. Each and every one on this. So let me tell you, say, how much love. We know a smart set of people, and there's a conscious set of people where stay a son and listen to this video. My name is Jamaican Carlos, people. I just want to give enough blessing in the day. Enjoy the day, man. Enjoy the rest of this day. With Jaja make phone here. Yeah, man. Thank you so much for watching this video. My name is Jamaican Carlos. I'm out.
Look on the Chinese them. Not even Igla. They won't get a chance to sell on the roadside. Watch them. Imagine them get the wholesale them in Jamaica for rent. And the roadside left for black people and then come and take over the roadside. So no tell me no. Look at this. Look on them.
Tell them I'm not going to strike them deal there. We have too much opportunity for this country. Great. You see all of them investment between where you are headed do. It can be so great if we put more people in the pie. Delano, we have not looked at community tourism the right way now.
Yeah, that auto community tourism piece needs a complete reset, and we know that, which is why we kind of decided to cut off a lot of the people who are hanging on to the community tourism thing, but they were just making money and doing nothing. Yeah, that auto community tourism piece needs a complete reset, and we know that, which is why we kind of decided to cut off a lot of the people who are hanging on to the community tourism thing, but they were just making money and doing nothing. Which is why we kind of decided to cut off a lot of the people who are hanging on to the community tourism thing, but they were just making money and doing nothing. But they were just making money and doing nothing. But they were just making money and doing nothing.
Prime Minister and Party Leader Andrew Holness is the man of integrity, love.
The operation, which began after 6 a.m. on Thursday morning, saw unoccupied and unfinished houses being demolished by large machinery.
The state that I
stand in full support
of the best Prime Minister since 1962.
One inconsolable victim of the demolition said she now has no clue what her next steps will be, as she spent her last $800,000 on the lot she was building on.
And every time of the receipt give me. There's another receipt give me. Nobody not give me no look one, no look no give me.
In full support
of the best Prime Minister
since 1962.
Southwest St. Elizabeth is in full support.
No, I thought me does have fires and so I just tell me so the lead on the plane. Me does have work for God work. I see that work for God work. I change it and me God work in a man time. Come in a happy, come here, see if it belongs and such.
How could I not support a leader who is moving Jamaica forward?
Has been put on hold, at least for now, until a meeting is convened with the government and the Sugar Corporation of Jamaica, SCJ, to work out the way forward.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness, who visited the community today, told the residents that the area will be developed in an orderly way and they will not be left out. Kirk Wright has this primetime news follow-up.
The residents eagerly awaited the arrival of the Prime Minister to hear the government's next move after demolishing their structures. Immediately after he arrived, he convened a meeting where he made this announcement.
This community and this area is about to experience a change, a transformation. We have put in place a master plan that is going to bring 15,000 houses into this area. Not for rich people.
And with that, the Prime Minister declared the options available.
You will have options to acquire the land itself. You will have options to acquire a starter unit. And you will have options to acquire a full unit. Presently, we were modeling our target prices as to the prices that we have been giving in Catherine Estates, which is just across here. And those units are about $6.5 average $1 billion.
Good news, but the price point sparked questions of doubt about affordability. The Prime Minister assured there was no need to worry as persons will be able to obtain mortgages.
So you will be able to buy your house and pay over time. The same way you're doing it now in incrementally building out. But when you go this route, you get your full house in a community.
Some say they weren't convinced of the Prime Minister's plan.
You know that he's lying, right? Because me know a lie I tell, right? And in the first instance, him should have found out all of them something before him demolish the building them, right? And then him come back with him foolish now. Remember, you know, him say, we are criminal, you know. Me hear in person and then him I go tell you right there, say, him did not say it, and me have to come up and say it. Yes, him say it.
The Prime Minister told the people that it appeared they were scammed because the government has no record of them paying for lands in the area.
Now we need to know who did you pay. We want to be able to assist, but if we are going to assist, we need to have clean hands coming to the table. Madam Speaker, tomorrow the government will act to demolish those structures that have been illegally erected.
living in a rent house. Rent raise every 3 months. I am very uncomfortable. Building an 8-bedroom here for my kids. And before you even come and say something, they even say that we were issued with a warning. It was a lie. That was a lie, and it was written from the person. That is also a lie. No, and they didn't find out how we got the land. It wasn't captured by. I paid for my land.
Okay.
I paid 3 times because I couldn't afford it 1 time.
Well, you made down payment, installments. Okay.
I got my receipt.
When we examined the situation, we only acted when we were certain that certain steps were taken. So we had the evidence of the posting of stop orders. I will, so you.
That's a lie, yo.
Please, allow the lady's question to be answered. Right. Please, allow the lady's question to be answered. Right. So that's one. Then number 2, the land that you claim to purchase, right? The government would want to know.
Yeah, man, come back and woman Andrew Wallace space for real, man. Come back and man and parents, brother. Cause watch it. You feel like Andrew Wallace poor people in the family. You know want to see a man go live in family also. Right now in Andrew Wallace right now family where we need a house just like how we need a house now. Eh? Come back and prison want to go live and make soldiers and police run with them. The soldiers and police they were running my young boy for we. Then them happy catch me. Me a whole man. Me can run for soldier and police right now, especially soldier. Eh? Andrew Wallace come back.
You're repeating what we already know. Yeah. What we don't know, how do we stop that from happening? And why do we have to do this? We have to lock down because the persons who are going to the corner shop on a Sunday or a Saturday or whichever day to buy the 2 pound of rice, the big jilla oil, the half of bread and so forth, and the half of chicken or chicken parts or chicken back. Those persons are not wearing their masks. They are not social distancing.
Madam Speaker, tomorrow the government will act to demolish those structures that have been illegally erected.
Stay to live, comrades live there. Anywhere where a river went to wash away, comrades live there. Anywhere that is a garbage dump, comrades live there. And it's not Labour Party put them there. That I want to tax the mayor of Burma. I want to tax all the Burma here. And I want to ensure that everybody get to experience a little bit of what we are. The experience.
Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. Can't buy scallion, we can't buy time. You can't fool me again. Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. Hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. You touch up line and a resort to crime. You can't fool me again.
What we gonna eat no money, what we at you, eat no at you. COVID money, me say we eat the your little rat you. Use the youth, the money, waste for most mantis statue. Say be like a catch you, but bigger than a figure you. Take the spit of money, girl, and say that is not you. One day the man above him, him a got a bet. Too much it in the kitchen, some a fly well like a patu. When singers and DJs and social media's coming at you.
It burn me.
300% raise.
It burn me.
Garbage students pile up for day. It burn me. Give the teacher them raise. It burn me. I see corruption peace. It burn me. Mash down the people them house. It burn me. Every day appear arms out. It burn me. Appear money them a thief. It burn me. And them a sell out we beach. Can't pull me again. You can't pull me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. Can't buy scallion, we can't buy time. You can't fool me again.